and that type of vibe,
You
like,
see,
or Crossroads, right? Like something like that.
It does turn into Crossroads at one point. It totally turns into Crossroads at one point. But I'd pitch it as, it's a prequel to Near Dark. Because you got your Confederate vampires that have been around for hundreds of years. They're kind of pack animals, and they're steaming in the sunlight. Remember when he shows up at the house and he's steaming? I'm like, oh, he's like a Near Dark vampire.
Welcome to season 4 of Talking Pondo. Talking Pondo is a podcast where Clif and Marty give each other a film to watch and talk about them in detail. Some episodes will include a special guest.
Ash Williams opens up a juke joint will not be seen this week, so we may bring you the following Deadite. So in other words, we won't be watching Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 2, Episode 1, where Ash does open a bar. But okay, let me do my other one now, because this might be better. Michael B. Jordan remakes The Parent Trap will not be seen this week, so we will bring you the following Heist. Because we watched Sinners.
Yeah, I guess Freaky Friday doesn't work. That was my thought.
It was the Lohan was in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Because we watched Sinners and we watched Running Time.
That's right.
And I had to rewatch the first 45 minutes of Sinners because I had latent Parent Trap syndrome, and I didn't know he was two people because I wasn't paying close enough attention. But I caught it and I watched it again. So
you watched that movie for 45 minutes and didn't realize they were twins?
Well, it's funny because I went, he's with both of those women? What the fuck?
That's hilarious.
And then I have big night flashbacks, and I realized, oh, wait a minute. No, he's in a dual role here. But anyways, we'll get that. I wasn't paying that much attention the first time. I'm glad I watched it again, though. But we're back. It's Talking Pondo. It's solo episode.
That's right.
And so much as there's two of us, I don't know if that's solo or duo.
For those playing at home and keeping score or playing along with the home game, I think this is season 4, episode 3.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what else happens this week? This is the season recap. So we got to pull up that little Google document there, and we're going to briefly go over the movies of season 3 and talk about, if we want to do a little revisionist history. And
that's right. Because we've had guests on the other episodes and we couldn't do a recap.
Because otherwise it'd be a really long episode.
Strap in, folks.
Before we get into the season recap, I'm going to do a little bit of a listener mail. Because it's not viewer mail. But we've done that joke into the ground. So I'm going to start with response on our episode about the border. So, friend of the show, Ray, writes in again about the border and says, a classic film. I remember having that on one of the many iPods I used to own. Remember when you used to have movies inside of an iPod, people? That was a while back.
160 gig iPod Classic could hold a lot of movies.
And last week we covered Vision Quest.
Yes, we did.
And we had a little mini contest where we posted the video of Gambler by Madonna.
That's right.
And somebody did write in and say, Vision Quest? Is that the movie coming soon to Talking Pondo? They were right. That's all ancient history now because that was last week. But I did want to mention that.
Congratulations.
Got that right.
You are the grand prize winner. You win 5 minutes of unbroken eye contact. Please hit us with a link where we can hit you with Zoom, and we'll just stare at you for 5 minutes. You can stare back. It'll be great.
I'm going to say you get to listen to an episode about Vision Quest and Blue Thunder.
That too. That's the real prize.
We had Ben on that one. That was a good episode over at the Too Vague podcast. But for the last of our follow-up here, it just keeps coming back to Pondo. Well, gee, maybe that's because that's part of the name of your show and the name of your company. And if you want to know the origin, you can always go back and listen to that Party Animal episode. I feel like putting that link in the footer as origin episode, But we have a little bit more to say about that one. nobody out there was asking what Pondo's CP was. Maybe somebody was. But somebody out there might not be also asking, who is Dr. Pondo? Well, Dr. Pondo is Matthew Causey, the guy who played Pondo Sinatra in The Party Animal. He became a doctor. Not
That's
like
correct.
a medical doctor, but he was a college professor. What was he?
Professor.
What was he teaching? Was it film
Theater.
study or
He was teaching theater, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so Dr.
Yeah, it was in
Pondo.
Scotland or Ireland, I think.
Wow.
Jumped across the pond. He had to so he had to run away from the stink of that film. Literally had to go across the pond, which I don't think was right. But
if you ever see Dr. Pondo, you know what that's a reference to now. And speaking of being across the pond, the secret is real, people. If you visualize something, you put it out there, it appears, it comes back to you, right? And the living proof of this is our episode on The Party Animal. We talked about how we had been looking for the UK cut for years. Within a week of that episode dropping, the link to the UK cut was discovered by us.
Hooray!
Found it. Wasn't a direct response, but it still showed up because when the student is ready, the master appears. So don't forget
but
that, people.
But the student waits while the master baits. Sorry.
And we were correct.
A different movie.
The REM song is during the initial stripper sequence in the beginning.
Folks, that is the weirdest fucking thing. So first off, like we talked about in Party Animal, this fucking stripper scene, this male stripper scene is a good 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. It's a long scene.
It's
of
long,
these dudes, these dudes in, banana hammocks, dancing and everything. And it's at first it's to I think it's Roman gods.
Yeah, but it turns out that's probably the reused cut. The original had this REM song because that song's in the credits, but it doesn't sound like it's original.
It is such an odd song to be using there. What in the fuck? Radio Free Europe while these guys are.
It feels dubbed in, but I have to
doing
watch
their
again
buffalo shots and shit. It was insane.
I don't have to watch again to see the buffalo shots. I guess that's par for the fucking course, but I need to watch again to see if it really does sound like it's an overdub with added crowd sounds, or what we've been hearing for years is actually a dub. Because nobody talks during the scene. There's just hearing.
I'd be willing to bet it's all dubbed. Is what my guess is.
Both versions are dubbed.
But it's just so weird. I mean, even if Radio Free Europe was the original, if I saw the Roman Gods version, I'd be like, that makes a lot more sense. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's like showing the last scene in Dirty Dancing and replacing I Had the Time of My Life with You Just Got Paid by ZZ Top or some shit. It just doesn't fit. It's weird.
Well, I'll have to watch the whole cut and see if there's any other different song cues. I think that might be the only one, but so that was pretty much all of the feedback there. And okay, so I guess before I do my rant, which does flow into talking about this week's movies, we can, as quickly as we want to, go through our season 3 recap. Do you have it pulled up, or do you need me to share the file with you?
I have that pulled up, sir.
So, yeah, we watched 72 movies last season because we finally did a full season there. No makings. Probably be doing those again at some point. But wow. I know a lot of people out there watch a lot more movies than I do on a regular basis. But for me personally, 72 movies over 9 months is a bit of an accomplishment. And they've been swimming in my brain ever since. So, and I think they've affected, screenwriting and everything else. Just can't help but reconstruct these films each week. So,
it's funny. I was talking with my wife about this. It's interesting when you do it this many times and you watch films and you have to kind of critically watch them. I think that you end up kind of questioning why you like things and why you don't like things. And it helps you kind of solidify like your reasoning behind like, here are the things that I like. You really begin to understand your own aesthetic, the things that you do like and don't like, the things that you think are important in film and the things that you think aren't. I continually see this argument on Twitter every now and then popping up and on other social media where all all art is political. And I think that's the biggest load of shit I've ever heard in my entire life. But other people, completely think it is. Think that, oh, well, of course art is making some sort of, social political commentary or political commentary at all times. It's like, no, it's social commentary I'll give you, but that's not necessarily political commentary. Anyway, point being, it makes you think about all this stuff in a much different way.
Yeah.
Right? You're not just letting the film wash over you and enjoying the moment like you did when you were a kid. You're critically thinking about it. So,
I mean, for instance, we did a bunch of comedies this year, and just looking briefly at this list here, how many of those are politically driven? The Entourage movie certainly isn't. Was Mrs. Doubtfire political art or Losing It? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean,
now Hopscotch might be.
Sure. Hopscotch, I could see. My cousin Vinny, you could maybe say, is talking about the justice system. Yeah, I would, and to me, what a lot of these two people do is they cherry pick something in the movie and go, see, this is referencing something in politics, like, well, this is about the upper class struggling against the working class. See, so that's political. It's like, no, that's fucking thematic. That's thematic. Like that's the device that you're using to tell whatever story. That's not, if you're not trying to have a actual political like if you're not doing Wag the Dog, or you're trying to make something, All the President's Men or something where you're commenting on politics or talking about politics, to me, it just doesn't, it's like the Christmas thing all over again. Well, Die Hard's on Christmas, so it's a fucking Christmas movie. No, it fucking isn't. Stop that shit. Christmas movies are about Christmas.
It is fun to watch on Christmas, though.
It is, absolutely. And in that respect, it's a Christmas movie. If you go and you look for movies that, well, this movie, like you said, happens on Christmas, so therefore it's a Christmas movie and I can watch it on Christmas, I completely agree with you. Knock yourself out. It's like Mixed Nuts is going to be a Christmas classic from here on out for me, but it's not about Christmas. Scrooged is a Christmas movie because it's about Christmas, right? Anyway.
Now, one of the movies today, I think, is political art.
Which one? Sinners?
Yeah, I think that one is.
I completely agree with you.
Not to get into it right away, but I think there's enough, blatant and allegory stuff.
Yes, that movie's layered with symbolism and themes, though. Like you can tell he's doing a lot of that shit on purpose. He's making commentary on that film. I guess
you could say The Last Detail is
for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not saying that they don't exist at all. I'm just saying all art is political. Motherfucker, please explain to me how Air Bud is political. I'll sit here all day.
We got to do a whole show about that then.
Give me a break.
Well, Top Secret is Francis the Talking Mule was political, strangely enough. It was, right? Because he was like staunch conservative, the mule.
Yeah, I guess.
He thought the press was fake and all that. It was.
But I guess I don't know.
I'm blowing at straws here. But.
You can so start to do that with this stuff, which is why I think it's a very I don't know, vaporous.
But looking at the list of comedies to start, is there a few on there that really stand out above the crowd for you? Of those, of maybe
I liked
favorites or ones that were new, or
I think. Step Brothers is a classic. I think a lot of people would agree. For me, I think it's not my favorite Will Ferrell movie, but if you're going to get a John C. Reilly Will Ferrell movie together, it's probably one of the better ones. I prefer Will when he's in a bit of a, like, old school is when Will Ferrell was at his best, because he had a bunch of other people that were kind of carrying the movie and he's just there to be super funny. Real Genius is great. Fast Times, really awesome. Let's see what else here. My Cousin Vinny. We've talked about that. That's a classic Thanksgiving movie.
And Hopscotch.
You get the clean version
too. Yeah.
I think The Ref is overlooked, and is a really good movie. Of course, The Party Animal there. Say Anything. And again, the last, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker was fantastic. Yeah. They Came Together was such a shock.
That one is the real, from Total Surprise.
Yeah. The Last Detail was amazing.
Oh, that's really a good one. Yeah.
Fucking such a good movie. Such a good movie.
It's one of those movies really that whatever I rated it, I probably have to go up a half a star after the episode's over.
I think I gave it a 4 or a 4.5. I must have. If I didn't, then I'm silly as all hell.
It's the problem is sometimes you watch the movie and you do the podcast right away.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it reflects differently. Like before we get into Sinners, I was like, oh, watch this a couple of days before we do the pod, because you're going to want the movie to,
You want to kind of think
sit
about
for
it.
a bit. You
Yeah.
don't want to be like, I just finished it 5 minutes ago. Well, you're going to have all sorts of shit to say in about 3 or 4 hours from now when you're done thinking about it.
You gave Last Detail a 4, and I gave it a 4.5.
So I'd probably go up to like the 4.5 thing. But the best comedy on there of the ones we did this year that are at least on that column, I mean, the obvious is like Fast Times because it's such a damn classic, but all the ones you mentioned are, right up there too. You guys gave me better appreciation for Mrs. Doubtfire as well. That was one that I had previously was like, and this time through it was like, okay, that's good.
I hadn't seen that in 20 years, and I was very pleasantly surprised to see it hold up very well.
Mm-hmm.
It's still very funny, and it's still got something to say about blended or households that are split up and things like that, which I thought was cool.
Surprisingly little science fiction. I mean, outside of the Star Trek, the motion picture, and of course the Star Wars trilogy, which was one of the trilogies we went through.
Yeah,
I think those
we got to get more sci-fi on the show.
The sci-fi. I mean, it was Jason X. If you want to lean into the horror a little bit,
would you consider Darkman sci-fi?
Well, he's a little bit of that too. Yeah, he's a scientist, right? He's making fake skin.
He's making fake skin and putting it on and stuff, and Yeah, we didn't do a lot of sci-fi. Yeah, we did some good quirky British stuff though.
Oh yeah, the quirky British is like they all could go into the comedy as well. How strange that all these movies came out into season 3: The Waking, Ned Devine, Full Monty, Local Hero, Commitments, Withnail and I, and we also covered Clerks the same season.
Yeah,
as far as indie goes, so we were really digging into similarities. I don't think we even realized going into the season. After Withnail and I is another one that it's like I still think about that every now and then, and like it really is that British Clerks kind of strange vibe to it. Yeah,
it's the first movie that has ever made me wish I'd grown up British, so that I had a better. There's some subtleties to that film that I think, much like Clerks in America, or much like Linklater's high school movie. Why am I blanking on the name?
Confused?
Stupid. Or? Yeah, Dazed and Confused. That plays to an American audience because it's about classic American things. Things that you're just not going to pick. You'll understand a lot of it, but the subtleties of it will be lost in you because it's not a lived experience for you. And so that with Nil and I was like, man, it'd be cool to have like have a British lived experience and really be able to kind of, because I enjoyed the film, but I think it would hit me 10 times better, right?
Yeah.
The indie stuff was great. Jessica brought Onyx the Fortuitous, and I was blown away by that. How just that dude. First off, how he raised the money for it, and then secondly, what a great job he did making that film.
Yeah, good way to kick off the season.
Mm-hmm. Like just thematically, it was consistent. The look, the art direction, the look of it was consistent. The direction was consistent. It was well made, And I just realized now that we did the beginning and the end of Kevin Smith's career this season.
It's true. The most current and the first.
Mm-hmm.
The 4:30 movie we also covered.
Mm-hmm.
Which somehow takes place before Clerks. Ah.
And then we did CBGB.
Yep, finally got that one in there. The follow-up to Bottle Shock from season 1.
And then the panic-inducing Give Me Liberty.
Oh, of course, yeah. That's definitely indie. So our indie selections were all very fitting of the IFC channel, I would say.
Kind of feel like Give Me Liberty could go under horror just for the absolute, just sheer stress-inducing fucking factor of that movie.
Mm-hmm. Then we had, as far as horror goes, Strange Darling will come up a little bit in today's discussion with the movies today. It re-entered the chat, so to speak, in my notes.
Okay, interesting.
And how funny. Now, you go back and you listen to that Strange Darling episode, and I'm talking about the beginnings is Texas Chainsaw opening. What is dude making now? He's making Texas Chainsaw TV show. So, hey, I thought that was a resume going, hey, give me Leatherface, see what I can do with it. I mean, I only had a person in a freezer in the movie, and wink, wink. But it worked for him, right?
We definitely had very different opinions about Strange Darling for sure.
But now I look back at it and I go, you could put it in indie. Also,
sure,
that movie.
Yeah, it was made for $5 million, dude. I mean, shit, that's an indie
It was
film.
gutsy, and it did what it was supposed to. It doesn't matter what I think because they're getting work and they get appreciated. So
I thought it looked really good. It was shot like Giovanni Ribisi for his first film as a cinematographer. It was really well. He did a very, very good job. I thought that was really good.
Another one of my rants for the day about moments as well.
Jason X is other than Friday the 13th Part 2, which I just got the 4K of. I think Jason X is my favorite Jason movie.
Yeah, it's largely hated. I think people.
I don't understand why.
I mean, come on, it's
so much fun. You're taking this stuff way too seriously if you can't get into that movie.
But maybe it just sits on certain people's heads wrong.
Yeah. I would rather watch Jason X than Scream 3 any day of the week.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Some people say Scream 3 is their favorite. I think nostalgia is a hell of a drug.
I think nostalgia is a hell of a drug.
You
got the member berries. You've been eating the member berries.
Hey.
He Never Died was I think you're probably one of your favorites of the whole series.
It really was. I look back on He Never Died, and I probably stick by my rating. No, I was probably a little harsh on that one that week. It's fine. It's probably more of like a 2. It's probably not like a.
I get it. I liked it. I liked it slow burn, but I get why you wouldn't like it.
Some weeks you watch things in the wrong week.
Rare Export was just too much old man penis. It was just too much of it.
The end when the kids flying around at the
end.
It
was just too much air. That was the other part. The kid suddenly, directing all the helicopters and having his, it just was silly, very silly. But if we have to go through that to get to Sisu, then I'm all for it because Sisu was awesome.
Yeah,
it's the same actor and the same director. And then our dramas. We did quite a few dramas.
Mm-hmm. Quite a few. It was a lot of comedy, a lot of drama. Yeah, not so much the other categories. I mean, obviously the best drama was Mazes and Monsters. I mean, is there any doubt?
No. Always. So we did Spielberg's probably worst film, Always.
Always. There was a moment in one of today's movies that felt like Always for a couple of seconds to me. And I'm like, and now we're in Always. My cynical ass. Trying not to get emotional watching the movie, making fun of it,
Youngblood was amazing.
Youngblood is a bona fide classic, and it
is a fucking stone cold classic. Yes.
Vision Quest. And one day we'll watch American Anthem and complete the trilogy.
Oh my God. All right.
Demanded it.
Fabelmans. So that's 2 Spielberg movies. We did Fabelmans.
And brilliant.
I did too. I really enjoyed it.
I know some people are like, but there's so much filmmaker stuff in there that I could relate to where it's like, yeah, this is good.
He's an undeniable storyteller. And, whatever story that he chooses to tell, he tells it really well, kind of better than almost anybody out there can do it, in my opinion. I see all these cinephile lists from these Cinebros now, these 25-year-old kids.
Is that like Cinnabon?
And they're like, I like Miyazaki and Wes Anderson and David Cronenberg and, all the edgy. But you don't see any fucking Peckinpah. You don't see any Spielberg. You don't see a lot of lists. I don't even see Coppola half the time. I'm just like, you fucking people have lost your fucking minds, man.
It's kind of dipping into a little bit of what I'm going to talk about later.
All right,
modern filmmakers tend to, things that irritate me about some modern filmmakers is taking elements of previous generation, scrambling it up and feeding it back up to a new audience and pretending they're the ones who came up with it and the audience thinking they're the ones that came up with it. And that's why you don't see the Peckinpah on the list. You see the thing that came after the Peckinpah on the list.
I mean, okay, we'll have to get into that. So
but anyway,
In Bruges, which was great. and you absolutely hated.
I didn't like that one that much, but Hope and Glory I thought was really, really good.
I did too.
That was
Straight
brilliant.
Story.
And
Straight Story
Story.
was
Those were
amazing.
both of those. It's like you talk about. I mean,
Yeah.
you got some great stuff here. You got this awesome Spielberg movie. Always. No, I mean, The Fablemans, and then you have this awesome Foreman movie, Hope and Glory, and then you have what I think might be my favorite David Lynch movie, The Straight Story, because it's everything in one. He's proving that he can make. Oh, I can make you want me to just make a movie? I'll just make a movie. You think all I do is make moving paintings, and yet it still is a moving painting, but it's a movie, and it's so heartfelt. It's just really good, and I'd never seen it before, so I really like that one.
Yeah, I did too. It's like seeing Kiss without their makeup,
right? Yeah.
And Animalize and Lick It Up are not terrible albums. They're not the best, but they're not terrible.
Blackberry was good too. It's more of the modern movie where there's only some moments that I remember instead of the whole movie, but there was some stuff in there that sticks with me about, fixing the damn beeping phone.
Good enough is the enemy of humanity. I quote that at work all the time. Mm-hmm. Good enough is the enemy of humanity.
Definitely. Art's different, because art's an expression, I think, but technology,
I struggled quite a bit with Nashville.
Well, I understand why.
I think
it's supposed to be a challenging movie, but still relevant to today, it seems.
I just don't think it's very well made. I feel like if it, again, like we talked about, like he achieves this thing that he does with sound in MASH where it really works. And in Nashville, it's so muddied.
But Nashville's the one where he first put mics on everybody.
Well, and so there you go. So it's not working.
Well,
like he hasn't figured it out.
Else can run. Yeah.
Right. But I get it. But I mean, I don't want to use Windows 3.11. I want to use Windows, 11 or whatever.
Well, see, that's an example of the things that come after are probably the better than the originator.
Yeah, probably. Oppenheimer was bad. I mean, it was fine.
Good,
it was,
but I don't think about it.
I have yet to super be blown away by a Christopher Nolan movie.
I don't really think about Tar to the point
where Tar's fine. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good,
really,
but it's one of those movies where you watch it and you don't really have to watch it. You don't really have a drive to watch it again.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Last Waltz I struggled with. I don't like that kind of, I don't like that music. I don't like that. Wasn't for me. I get why other people like it. Like I totally get it.
Like and subscribe.
We all struggled with Mazes and Monsters.
Yeah, I gave it a 1 and you gave it a half of a star. And then you gave Mixed Nuts a half of a star.
Yeah.
I gave it 2.5.
Well, I gave it a 5 as a Christmas movie.
Sunset Boulevard and The Border were two very interesting picks. I was glad we finally got Sunset out the way. Right. I like that movie. Like I said, I'd seen it on the big screen recently, and folks, if you have a chance to see it on the big screen, it's like Lawrence of Arabia. Go see it on the big screen. Don't hesitate. Just go see it. You'll love it.
You probably won't get a chance to see The Border on the big screen anytime soon.
And I honestly, I wouldn't really recommend that you see it unless you want to see Harvey Keitel crushed by heavy construction equipment, and then go see that.
Spoiler. If you can see the right stuff in the theater, it's good. There should hopefully be a bathroom break, as we had discussed.
Yes. Yeah. Enjoy the fan dance.
Oh God, the fan dance.
And Demolition Man is sci-fi, actually, so that counts as science fiction for sure.
That's true. Yeah.
For sure, that's in our action category, and I guess Sneakers is drama's action.
Yeah,
I guess
thriller.
Give me the box, Marty.
Yeah, boomer energy.
And then we got Early Raimi with Darkman, and Midnight Run is I don't know if that's got to go in comedy. Honestly, I think that's definitely
it was hard pressed to figure out where it goes, but that's a really good one too.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Pelham 123 was awesome.
Oh yeah,
Mathau just fucking crushing it in that shit. I'm the more I watch his movies, the more I really enjoy him as an actor. I just think he's awesome.
Talking Mathau before you know it again.
Yeah, we're gonna have to lock one of those in. Maybe bring a guest on for it.
Mm-hmm.
Enter the Dragon, classic, 5 stars all day long. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first movie you and I ever reviewed for the high school paper.
Right.
Fucking hilarious. And then, of course, our Westerns. We had The Warlock and Bad Day at Black Rock. The only two, so we've got to get more sci-fi and Westerns, which I would argue
more
are
sci-fi
almost
Westerns. Cowboys and
I think they are almost the same damn thing, in my opinion. You know, one's just backwards and one's just forwards in time.
Right.
But trilogies was, you know, Victor Victoria and what that finished off the SOB.
That one and 10 from
10 SOB
2. Yeah.
So no, didn't he do he didn't do network, but broadcast or something like that? Didn't he do one about television?
No, the Blake Edwards, it goes 10 SOB, Victor Victoria.
Right.
Then it's like The Man Who Loved Women, and then
Women.
Like something else in there I forget, and then Blind Date and
oof. And then of course the John Ritter Glory in the Dark Condoms movie,
Deep, which is basically fucking 10, but with John Ritter.
Huh. Okay.
It's kind of the same story, but now Blake Edwards is older, so he's telling it through a different age group. But maybe we'll get to that one day. Just see the glow in the dark condom to see if that. I mean, we need more, you know, talking Ritter. You know, we don't talk enough about John Ritter.
Talking Ritter.
And we finished off the trilogy that began with Sicario, and Sicario was way back in like season 1, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And so
Hell or High Water.
High Water in the
Wind River.
Wind River. Finishing off that trilogy. Sicario 2 coming soon. And Trainspotting Part 2.
Day of the Soledad, I believe that one's called.
It was a good season. You know, they've all been so far, but 3 was varied. We can get a little bit more variant in there, but still what we had was, you know.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed season 3 quite a bit. I think it was a good, like you said, it was a good season. Lots of good movies in there, but also some real stinkers, because you got to have a few crappy ones that are painful. Otherwise, it's just no fun.
Oh, yeah. They can't.
Speaking of crappy ones that were painful, one of the 2 movies that we had today was a real shitburger.
You didn't like Sinners? Well, at least it was only 68 minutes. Right. Running time. I do have a little rant before we go into the movie.
Please.
Okay. Oscars. They do them once a year. They do them for the movies that come out the previous year. And that makes sense, because these movies are new and you want to drum up business. You want to rent seats, sell popcorn. I get it.
Whatever puts butts in seats, right?
But how about this for kind of a crazy concept? And this is also why I like the National Registry more than the Oscars, because it's like the movies have stood the test of time, and then we put them in because we still feel they're culturally relevant, 25 years after the fact? So what about this? The Oscars should be for movies that are 5 years old. 1 year is just too new. Like when I was saying, you need time to think about these things, to appreciate the movie. What if they did the Oscars 5 years from now? It wouldn't be good for business. I understand that. But what an interesting take. It's like, now I've had a chance to watch all these movies. I've thought about them. And now I can give a clear idea of what I thought the best movie from 2025 is. It just seems like we're just giving awards to things that just came out the womb. We don't even know if this is going to... But that's the Oscars, right? How many Best Picture winners are movies that nobody's talking about anymore? Most of the time. The one that should have won never wins, right? Because...
So then we would be reviewing...
I know it's ridiculous, but it was just a thought. You know,
movies from 2021, right?
Mm-hmm.
At that point. So we would be doing... hang on, let me just... I've got the list up here. I've got the list up here. Where is it? Best Picture. There it is. So we would be talking about Nomadland, The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, Minari, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, or The Trial of the Chicago 7.
Who's talking about any of those currently?
I mean, Nomadland was the big runaway. Oh my goodness, what a great fucking movie! But yeah, I mean, and you know, the director's on to doing other things at this point. I think, didn't she do Hamnet? No, something. I don't know.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah. Well, I think they were on the Deacons pod. I think I heard that one.
Yeah. And then of course, I mean, Sound of Metal, I mean, I haven't seen it, but I've heard good things about it. But yeah, I mean, it's not like these movies were still like you said, super. I've heard Judas and the Black Messiahs. You know, that's
Right.
also Ryan Coogler.
Maybe we're still digesting this art, but that's not what the point of the Oscars is. The Oscars is this is brand new. Go see it. You know, it's still out.
What's a
5 years from now, what good is that going to do anybody? I
it's
understand.
a yeah, it's a dog and pony show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you trot them out, you get them an award, they get happy. You know, they make a little speech about saving kids in some far off country that they never go to, and then they feel good about themselves, and they go get do a lot of cocaine and eat a cheeseburger because they've been starving themselves for 3 weeks to fit into their fucking clothes.
So, did you want to talk about the movie you didn't care for as much first? Is that...
Yeah, I think we have more to say about Sinners, and that might be a funner one to go out on anyways.
Okay, so what is this movie that Josh Becker and Bruce Campbell decided, let's just make a movie like we did back in the day and shoot it in like a week, I think, and this experiment called Running Time.
Running Time, 1997, 1 hour and 10 minutes. It is not an hour and 10 minutes. It's an hour and 8 minutes.
Like an
Carl
hour
is
and
released,
2 if you cut the credits out.
Carl is released from jail after serving a 5-year term and immediately sets about executing his next heist. The plan is relatively simple, but time is critical. However, he doesn't factor in bad luck or the incompetencies of his accomplices. Directed and written by Josh Becker. Peter Choi is also a writer on this. Stars Bruce Campbell, Jeremy Roberts, Anita Barone. Your storyline. Running Time was filmed in black and white in real time and seemingly takes place in one continuous fluid shot. It's a little like Hitchcock's Rope, but it's on location. Carl, an ex-con who sets out to rob the prison laundry system where he worked for 5 years while in the penitentiary, has spent 10 years in prison planning the ultimate heist. Upon his release, he meets up with a high school buddy who's made all the arrangements for the job and rented him a hooker for his first encounter in a decade with a real girl. After picking up the safecracker and their getaway driver, they've got 20 minutes to pull off the perfect heist, but soon everything falls apart before Carl's eyes. He might still get the girl, though.
Okay, first off, apologies for not pairing the party animal with Sinners. I think that would have been a much better fit. But as far as like bad Bruce Campbell movies go, you could do a lot worse than this one. But anyways, rest in peace, Josh Becker. He was one of the people that helped make Evil Dead. And the connection with him and Sam Raimi back in the day was Becker had been doing films and short films and showing them at school. And he was kind of like the big film guy. And then here comes Raimi, and he starts doing little short movies and kind of taking some of Josh's techniques, but then doing them his way and better. And so there was a little rivalry between the two of them for a while. And eventually they ended up working together. But Josh managed to cram out a few movies in his lifetime that are weird little cult classics. He never did anything much larger than a Hercules or Xena episodes. And it's crazy. As we all get older and everybody's time is running out. He passed away last year, and Scott Spiegel, another one of the early Raimi guys. Sometimes I go, fuck, do I have 10 years left? Well, if we do, Cliff, I hope we make the next 10 years fucking awesome. Because, my God, it's so crazy how fast it all comes and goes. But anyways, this movie, 68 minutes you can't get back. I know, but at least it's short.
It's not well, first off, it's not a movie.
No, it's feels like a long short.
It's not a feature film. It's not a movie. It's a long short. I looked it up just to see, like, I was like, maybe I can cut this some slack. What's the length of considered the very first feature film? The very first feature film length is, I think it's somewhere in the 1906 or 1908. It's 70 minutes long. So if they could make a fucking 70-minute movie in 1908, then I expect at least that long now to call it a movie. And look, our movies have skirted that line very close at some point too, but at least we got it over the finish line, right?
Well, are you grateful it wasn't longer?
I know, because I think if he had been forced to do another 15 minutes of footage, right, one of two things would have happened. He would have written a better fucking script, or he wouldn't have made the movie. One of the two. And both of those would have been much better outcomes than what he had.
It's true. There was places you could have gone. Yeah.
It's just, the dialogue is fucking god awful. Like, the writing is, he has a, I get it. He makes this he tries to make this kinetic, sort of frenetic movie that's supposed to have this pace, but yet at the same time, he kind of fucks it up in certain instances. So he loses the pace. He kind of abandons the idea of it being all one long piece at certain points because he just wants to have a storytelling device, or he wants to tell it differently. It doesn't, it's just, it's not, I mean, I can't say it's not terribly made, but at the same time, like, fuck, I stopped counting how many goddamn times he uses that camera to circle the two fucking actors while they're talking. It just got to where it's like, oh my God, hey man, why not one more time around? Woo, let's do it.
It felt like they were just like, let's make a movie with all of our 70s techniques when we were just, and it's got Bruce Campbell in it, so that's why it's out.
It feels like they were like, well, fuck, we know Sam Raimi. We got access to stuff, and we've got a little bit of money, and fucking Kevin Smith made a fucking black and white movie. So let's go make a fucking talky ass black and white Kevin Smith movie.
Interesting.
And it was just it was bad from start. The premise of the movie's fucking dumb. It continues to get more dumb as it goes along.
Yeah, I like the first part more than the second part. I think once you get to the heist, it stops in its tracks when the guy can't open the safe. It feels like we're in there for way too long. I'm like, oh, if any tension you had has kind of let out, and then with the hooker story by the end, you're kind of like, am I watching the same movie? And then it just kind of ends.
Well, and how many fucking times are we going to have a person move into the lens and then move away from the lens so that we can, quote unquote, hide the cut? Dude, we all see what you're doing.
And they're not even trying to, it's not like Birdman fucking, where they're trying to really hide it. It's like you can tell.
Oh, no, he's trying to hide it. He does it several times where he's trying to hide the cut. He's obviously trying to make it one continuous piece.
Yeah, but
he's just not doing it right. He moves into black at one point and then moves out of black, just like they do in Birdman. It's I think it's much more slicker done in Birdman than this, for fuck's sake. Wow.
Well, yeah.
Like this is way more subtle. Or Birdman is way more subtle with it. But, there's some dialogue in it that's like, but only if you want to. That is, yeah, I want to. Really? Yeah, really. You're not just saying that? No, I mean it. And I'm like, for fuck's sake.
BlackRock, right?
What the fuck? Yeah, it's like Bad Day at BlackRock. Exactly. Well, that's dialogue. That's writing from the 50s. Like, come on, what are you doing?
Well, it is supposed to be like Hitchcock.
And I'm only 15 minutes into the movie. Well, like I paused it and I'm like, oh my God, I got 50 minutes left. I got 50 minutes left on this fucking movie.
Though, right? It feels like they have a premise and they're just riffing on it.
No, I mean, for him to be able to do the blocking that he does, it's definitely not. It's all scripted.
That's
like
true.
They had to block all that shit out and figure it out because they know when to bump into the camera to create the transition and the edit points. They know, they're strategically planning that shit out for sure.
Well, they got away with it.
That's why I have to kind of give him credit for pulling that part of it off. Like, yeah, he got the movie done and that type of thing, and congratulations, but holy shit, dude. Like it's kind of an unbelievable kind of story with a weird ass premise and it wants to be like Animal Factory to kind of.
I feel like it would have been something I would have seen on IFC then, but I hadn't seen this movie before 10 years ago. And now I have a Mandela effect memory like I watched this in the 90s because it's so 90s. It reminds me of one of those movies that I watched and then went and made marijuanos. Oh, if they can do it, we can do it.
Yeah, Bruce, and I think that's exactly what these guys did, where they went, well, if Kevin can do it, we can do it.
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell, unfortunately, he just doesn't have the acting chops to save this thing, which is unfortunate because that dude's got some pretty fun kind of hammy ass B movie acting chops. He should be in this thing really killing it, but instead he's just the movie's just dragging him along. The script and the story are dragging him along and everybody else, right, to this eventual silly fucking ending. Whew.
And he's ducking to the left and he's ducking to the right.
Hey, I've circled the two actors once with the camera. What else should I do? I know, I'll circle them with the camera again. It's fucking brilliant, dude. Good job, Josh. I mean, yeah.
It reminds me a lot of these public access skits we did. They were called Cluckers, where they were like, it was the precursor to Marijuanos in a way, even though we had written that script where it was just Chris and his cousin Rudy pretending to be coke dealers in these 5-minute improv single shot takes. And they're so silly, but I'm like, oh my God, it's like that, or like La Llorona, where they're running through the tunnels. Like there's a scene where he goes into a tunnel and the camera's going upside down. And I'm like, it's like shit that we used to do when we were fucking around.
Yeah, but exactly. The tunnel's the only interesting shot in the film. It's the only interesting shot in the film. It's the only
other shot
time that they find a location that looks halfway interesting at all.
The other shot I liked is he comes into the neighborhood, and then the shot pulls all the way back, and we see the guy who ran off with the van. I kind of like that one a little bit. It's more visual than the dialogue, definitely.
I'll tell you a shot that really drove me up the fucking wall, because to me, the camera almost kind of moves directionless. Like if you want to study a movie about like how to overuse a camera and move it, how to move it way too fucking much, this is the movie for you. Watch this, and then if you want to see about like processing and editing techniques, watch Man on Fire. Tony Scott's Man on Fire. Between the two of them, you'll have a great lesson on probably what not to do most of the time. But that's exactly it. This thing is just, the camera moves so weird, and it's the shot is she comes out of her apartment and onto the Bruce Campbell's out there, and she thinks he's left, driven off with that dude, and she comes out of her apartment. The camera follows her. She comes out of the apartment and then comes back into the apartment and does that whole run into the camera to block the lens thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just fucking back the camera up and just follow her back into the apartment? Why do you need to do the bump at that point? I guess the only thing I can think of is that you're using some kind of heads or tails, black and white, film canister, and you don't have enough film spliced together to be able to shoot that whole thing. But it's just like, my God, over and over, bumping into the camera, bumping out of the camera, bumping into the camera, bumping out of the camera, over and over again.
Yeah, I didn't listen to the commentary track. I had previously, and it was probably the best way to watch the movie because it's more entertaining. But I didn't watch it twice this week.
An IMDb review called this tense. Pick any scene in Reservoir Dogs and it's 10 times as tense as this. And I feel like this is influenced by Reservoir Dogs too.
Oh yeah, and it's funny.
Very much so.
There's a documentary about Josh Becker. I forget what it's called. And I watched it, and he didn't get along with Tarantino or the Coen brothers very much. And yet here he's like doing something.
He's very close to that style.
Mm-hmm. But he never wanted to play the Hollywood game. Like we were talking, like he's kind of like, I don't want to call him the Troy Duffy of the Raimi universe because I don't think he was insufferable as that. But there was still a little bit of that going on where it was
his own worst enemy type of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he had the potential to do something in The Drive, but it was just, but at the same time, he left behind a good half dozen or more really strange cult movies like this and Thou Shalt Not Kill Except, where Raimi's playing a Manson type cult leader. It has to be seen to be believed, but you'd probably think running time was Citizen Kane compared to it. But they're, I mean, for a B movie, as far as like a crappy,
that's not even a B movie. That's a.
What do you think of running time as far as, compared to like, I don't know, some of the other low budget stuff you might have seen Bruce in?
I think it's bottom of the barrel. There's one. This movie feels like it's stuck in the fucking mud.
Well,
it takes forever to watch. Its premise is dead within the first 5 fucking minutes. I mean, my God.
So I take it you haven't seen Alien Apocalypse or The Man with the Screaming Brain, because I can throw some really bad Bruce movies around.
Sure. Yeah. This movie's insufferable. It was insufferable to watch. I couldn't stand it. It's I give a half star because Bruce is in it, much like I give Joey Pants. Anything with Joey Pants gets a half star. Immediately if Joey Pants is in a movie, I'm giving it a half star. I feel the same way with Bruce, so I give it the half star for that. But the rest of the movie is just not good. I just really didn't enjoy it at all.
The other odd connection is the secretary is Bridget Hoffman, who is the woman in the Evil Dead promotional art, but she's not in that movie. And so here she is actually in something with Bruce. And the other strange thing about this movie is we run an LLC. This movie was made with an LP. That's how old it is. Like, they didn't even have LLCs set up yet. It was just a limited partnership. You don't see LP in the credits too much. And I know if that's one of the more interesting things about the movie, it probably wasn't that good. So I'm right there with you. I know it's not that good of a movie. I still give it 2.
Jesus fucking, you gave Mixed Nuts a half a star and you're giving this 2 fucking stars?
Yeah, Bruce pulled it through for me. He's funny enough. There's enough of the young Bruce that I can just watch that and laugh for an hour. But it was a slog this time.
It's your score, man. I'm just
I like to watch public access and shit.
I mean,
but I understand it being a half star as well. I get that.
This movie has a dude with his crime partner. He's been in prison for 10 years. He gets out day one. They escape with the fucking money in 2 bags. He's shot and he tells his friend, just take the money and fucking run and I'll meet you later. Like, give me a fucking break.
It's stupid, but it makes me laugh.
It was so fucking dumb. Oh, anyway,
I'm not watching it again anytime soon, but I do
half a fucking star. Let me see. Do I have any other notes on it? I lost count of the number of times the actors walk directly into the lens. At one point, the actress does it so she can leave the apartment. Yeah. That's the other thing. Soundtrack's awful.
There was a soundtrack?
Yeah, because at one point it's doing like the soulful guitar from fucking soulful guitar licks from Lethal Weapon.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, dude, what the fuck? This movie's so bad. Oh. Anyway, half star.
All right.
And I say that with, I don't feel bad about that shit at all. Get it out of here.
Get it off my plate. You like it, you eat it.
Bring me some Sinners. That's right. Not trying to yuck your yum, but if you want to eat that, you go right ahead. I ain't eating it.
Sinners. Why does everything have to be salacious? What is Sinners?
Salacious?
Look, I'm not a prude, but wow, there's a lot of talking about eating out and crotch grabbing, and then I go, it is a vampire movie. It has to be mildly erotic.
We just talked about hound dog eating pussy in a fucking movie.
That was a couple weeks ago. We didn't even quote that line.
Sinners 2025. Rated R, 2 hours and 17 minutes. Here's your log line. Trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. This is written and directed by Ryan Coogler, stars Michael B. Jordan, Jack O'Connell, Haley Steinfeld. Okay, storyline, 1930s. Brothers Smoke and Stack Moore return home to Mississippi after working for the Chicago Mafia. They buy a sawmill and a juke joint and use their experience as gangsters to ensure that their businesses flourish. Things appear to be going well, but trouble is just at town. Trouble in a supernatural form. There we go.
So, on my earlier point about, at my half joke about why does everything got to be so salacious, is it's kind of like, and especially in Oscar movies lately, because remember back when we were kids and movies that would come out and people would look at us like we were fucking crazy for being into this stuff, like it was gross or it was offensive. And you cut to now, and part of me is very happy that a lot of this stuff is acceptable. But it's like, you're giving these things Oscar nominations when you used to fucking sneer at us. George Romero never got nominated for an Oscar for making Dawn of the Dead, but I guess you have to build from there. But like Everything Everywhere All at Once, there was a dildo in that. That's a Best Picture nominee or winner. So you see what I'm saying? If everything is shocking, nothing is shocking. Jane's Addiction was right. I like to pepper my shock. I like my shock on dirty cocktail napkins.
You're talking about the difference between what's socially acceptable
I
then and
know.
now,
Well, that's
and
why I have to relate it to then and how interesting it is, how it's
the
changed,
Oscars
you know?
the Oscars made a lot of mistakes in the 70s and the 80s, shunning a lot of films that were culturally significant and had a lot of
Mhm.
impact. And I think that maybe they're overcorrecting on that, but I think it's better that way than to completely begin to
You're right.
overlook these significant movies, or at least movies that that's kind of why I like the 10 best picture nod type thing, because even if we know 5 of them aren't going to make it, it's cool that they got kind of
Mhm.
seen. You get them named so they're
Yeah.
out there and people may go see them, and that's good. I like that.
I
That's a
mean,
good idea.
I kinda miss the days of the unrated cut on home video, and you had kind of like a R-rated version that would appeal to everybody. But what am I fucking talking about? This was
I mean,
clearly just like Barbie, 4-quadrant. They knew exactly how to pull everybody into as an audience member for this movie.
well,
And hats off
they
to them,
definitely
you know.
stayed away from nudity, which the younger generation, for what I understand, isn't really
Oh,
keen
this
on.
movie wouldn't have it would have felt out of
Uh,
place, wouldn't it?
yeah,
And yet
but
I'm
like you
thinking
said,
it's dirty enough
it's
just from all the talk about
it's
eating out and stuff.
it has some eroticism to it, and it does have some kind of like listen to Haley Steinfeld say, "You stuck your tongue in my coos and then fucked me hard." I was like, "Girl, what, young lady, watch your mouth! What in the
Cliff,
hell?" It was, I
Cliff,
told my wife that, she started laughing her ass off.
I
But
mean,
it was just like, this is the little girl from True Grit. Like, to hear her kind of, I imagine she took the role just so she could say that fucking line.
now, some of our younger viewers one day will understand where I'm coming from with this, but I know you'll understand this because we're both about the same age. And now that I'm in my 50s and I'm watching these stories about people who are in their 20s or in their 30s, they seem like kids to me. And they think
Well,
they know
yeah,
everything. They
yeah,
don't. And you don't really get to know stuff till
yeah.
you're in your 40s, but you read things so differently when you're in your 50s looking at these. And then when it's so sexually charged, I'm almost like, it's like, wow, I've officially become old because I'm sitting here watching young people and I'm embarrassed by it.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep. Yeah, I tried to keep from judging that. Everybody's got their own ways of doing it, but it's also one of those things where you start to realize that the media is not made for you anymore. You like to talk about how,
We got
oh, this
aged
movie
out.
was made for
Yeah.
boomers. Well, guess what, buddy? You're the boomer now. As far as they don't make movies for you anymore.
No,
They don't make movies
Sneakers
for
was
me.
made by boomers.
No, no. But what I'm saying
That's what I
is,
meant.
you lived in a generation in the 80s and the 90s where movies were made for you, were
Hmm.
pointed at you to
Yeah.
get you to watch them. You are no longer that
Yeah,
target
once we hit
audience.
like 45, we're out of it. I heard the millennials are officially out of it now.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, Sinners was while, I'm sure the studios want us to see it, it was not directly targeted at us,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
But it's like I was
Um,
mentioning earlier, I think I mentioned this on the recording. It's one of the reasons that, and I think it's because I'm so old now, but also it was this way back in the day when I used to read all the Fangoria and shit, and I used to be looked at like I was a mutant freak, which I probably was for loving all that shit at the time, and nobody else liked it. And then you get filmmakers that come along in the 90s and beyond that take all those elements from the exploitation movies and make them mainstream, and then the mainstream audience loves it because they never watched those other movies. So that's why there's like, if you had just dropped all this homage shit to horror movies, maybe Sinners is a fucking brilliant movie. I still really liked it, but I feel almost like in parts like you use the vampire thing to kind of pull people. I like it and I don't. I'm so torn on this movie. There's parts of it I really dig, and there's other parts where I'm like, ugh. But then I get to the end of it, and not to spoil anything, I think it's mostly a movie about grief more than it is a horror movie or something.
this is a spoiler podcast, so it's fine to spoil.
Well, I
it,
know. I just have to make my
but,
jokes.
to start with, I like to go kind of chronologically through the movie with my notes. So there's a scene early on where we see Smoke and Stack, and they're passing a cigarette back and forth, and this is to give us the sense that they're both in the scene at the same time. And I just made a note about it because it's just, to me, it's for everything else that he pulls off, it's kind of a really like a ham-handed, like, see, really, they're there. Both of them are really there. Look, they're passing the cigarette back and forth. It's like, dude, you don't need to do that. The rest of the movie that you made is so good that you don't need to bow to these tiny tricks. Just make the fucking film, bro. And so, and right away, it was kind of like a yawn moment where I'm like, oh boy, and then I start watching the rest, 10 minutes in the film, I'm like, this movie's going to be filled with a fuckload of symbolism. I can tell right away there's going to be a lot of thematic stuff being thrown at me in symbolism, and some of it's probably going to go over my head. That's cool. I'm going to dig in and just try to, decipher what I can and enjoy as much of it as I can. My next note is whop that wang dang doodle all night long.
Mm-hmm.
The movie's trying to be very cool, and in some parts it really succeeds, and in other parts it feels corny as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of what you're talking about, where it's like, oh shit, you did that really well. Kind of flat on your face there a little bit.
I know why you did it, but
that part you did really well.
I wish you wouldn't have, but I understand why, but I wish you wouldn't have, but I understand why. It's like a battle in my mind constantly since I've watched it.
The first town scene with the shooting, Terry, boy, how you been? Well, I was doing better before you shot me in the ass. That whole stuff early on is fucking great. It's really good. But one of my first early parts of the movie and what I don't understand is there's a driving shot. Okay. When the twin brothers break up, when Smoke and Stack split up and Smoke drives off, I think it's Smoke, drives off with the young guitar player, the preacher boy.
Where I got confused and had to start it over.
So when he drives off with Preacher Boy and they're talking, so first off, the car is way too smooth. It's an old ass fucking car driving down a goddamn gravel road. It should be bouncing a lot more, but instead it's this very smooth ride. And you can tell it's on a pneumatically controlled sled. So everything's nice and smooth. And then secondly, they've fucking covered the car. They've diffused the car with a massive diffuser over the top of it. And it's almost cast. So the guys are in a fucking brightly lit car with no top, a convertible with no top, and they look like they're in shade. And then 30 feet behind them, where the road and the ditch go, is the cotton field, and the cotton field's in the brightest fucking sunlight you've ever seen, and it looked so weird. Mm-hmm. And then about halfway through that scene, they go back to town, and then they come back to it, and then it's switched, and now the fucking shadow's gone, and they've now the cotton field matches where the boys are in the car. And I'm just like, guys, if you can't get it all in one fucking, it doesn't look right. Mm-hmm. It looks fucked up. Your lighting's changed completely. And I don't know how you didn't catch that. I really don't know how you didn't catch that. It's fucking weird.
I had to end up watching it on Amazon Prime and SD because the high def copy looked so overly saturated LUT crazy to me that I think they're purposely trying to make it look unreal. Well, it's
definitely richly colored because they definitely push the colors for sure.
I got a little color blindness where I have troubles with reds and browns and green distinguishing, and so the high def, everything just looked ugly. I was like, fuck, this movie just.
I thought it looked
ugly.
I thought it looked really good.
Then I switched,
especially the night stuff.
I switched to the standard def, and then everything was a little bit more like probably what it looked on the big screen. A little more, it was a little more muted, and then I could see the blacks better, the shadows. People's hats weren't like this gigantic fucking mass of blue popping off their head and shit. It was almost like Willy Wonka on my big TV, but on the other TV, I was like, okay, this is a little more manageable here. But see, listening to Deacons every week, there's so many issues with the color timing, and by the time it gets to you, in which copy you're watching, like Criterion goes out of their way to make sure that the color timing's right, but I don't know if the copy that's compressed onto Amazon looks like this, or I think the standards are a little bit better now.
I watched the Blu-ray. Basically, I watched the copy from the Blu-ray. So I got it. I think I got as close as Kugler did. So that'll move me to my next thing. Mm-hmm. This is to every filmmaker out there. If you're listening, if secretly directors are listening to this show and passing it around and doing these assholes, stop with the mixed formats. Just fucking stop. Pick a format and stick to it. Pick a format and stick to it, okay? I don't want to... I get it. You shot it in IMAX and you want to show it IMAX. Then just open the mat up and show the whole fucking thing that way. right? Or shoot the goddamn in IMAX knowing it's going to be matted top and bottom. I mean, Kubrick did it. There's tons of filmmakers that shoot like that. They shoot 4:3 open matte, and because they know it's going to be matted, but they've still got the the bigger image for other things that they want to do.
TVs
Kubrick
aren't
didn't have
there
to do this jumping back and forth between 1.85 or 2. To this massive 1.43 IMAX film, whatever.
Yeah.
It was fucking dumb, dude.
You can do that now because there's not ever going to be a 4:3 version of this movie.
I hear you, but it's still fucking stupid.
Yeah, well, there's a few parts where I didn't even notice it happened until after it happened. At least he was sparing. Most of the movie is scope. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's weird. Because didn't they do that in The Dark Knight? They go back and forth for the IMAX parts.
Yeah, I think so.
But this one, sometimes it like you see it like start to enlarge, right? Like when when the vampires
it reminds me of the old dumb 3D trope where they'd have the character lean over the black and white bars, the top and white bars on the the 1.85, where they to create that, oh, look at me, I'm coming out of the frame effect. I do love the trope of the prepared stranger who confidently goes about his plans. I love how the Stack brothers show up and they know what they're going to do. They've got their plans. They're the guy that's selling them the sawmill. They're not worried about that dude at all, and are more than willing to put him in the ground if need to.
Yeah, it's very interesting movie. That's fun because it's an exploitation movie through and through, with all those classic tropes that you would see in like an old 70s type grindhouse movies or horror movies or things that the Academy would have shit on 40 years ago.
Sure.
And now we're loving, which is part of the reason why I'm like, I can get behind it, but I'm too much of an old school person to let somebody else take all the credit for something somebody else did. But I still like the movie.
Well, I don't think he's trying to take credit for anything. I definitely think he's influenced by a lot of that stuff for sure.
I know, but the kids that are watching it don't know those movies. So it's the same reason I don't like Tarantino is the reason I didn't like some of this. But I do like this movie more than Inglourious Bastards or Django Unchained. I thought it was more impactful and kind of trying to do similar things, like they kill Hitler in the Inglourious Bastards, but in this one we get to kill a bunch of KKK people. So, it's kind of that revenge thing on the film, which is also one of those exploitation tropes. We're going to get revenge and, oh shit, I might have as bad as the person that I'm killing. And the Smoke and Stack, they're that anti-hero too, right? Because they got the shit.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, there's exactly... I like the fact that they're very unambiguous about about what they're doing.
That's where that From Dusk Till Dawn comparison comes from, I think, is because the thief type thing. And
this, I've been thinking about how you would elevator pitch this movie, right? How if you somehow got lucky enough to get stuck on an elevator going up 10 floors with an executive and you had 30 seconds to pitch it, how would you pitch it? And I came up with basically something like, think about La La Land meets Dusk Till Dawn, peppered with a little bit of The Color Purple, and maybe with a little bit of ragtime thrown in, that type of vibe, or Crossroads, right? Like something like that. It does
turn into Crossroads at one point. It totally turns into Crossroads at one point. But I'd pitch it as, it's a prequel to Near Dark. Because you got your Confederate vampires that have been around for hundreds of years. They're kind of pack animals. And they're steaming in the sunlight. Remember when he shows up at the house and he's steaming? I'm like, oh, he's
I love that
dark vampire.
Yeah,
because
all the vampires are susceptible to sunlight.
But in that movie specifically, they're hiding under the blanket.
Some of them just immediately catch fire.
That feels like the little homages there. So I like them, but at the same time, I like the movie underneath all that even more, and I would have liked to seen just that movie. But maybe that wouldn't have been as successful, or maybe that would be a harder watch. Because I feel like the whole movie's an allegory. It's not really about vampires. It's about they opened this juke joint and the KKK showed up and killed a bunch of them, and then they're kind of the survivors at the end. And they're looking back, like, remember when... That was the subtext I got from it. And that really hit me like, oh, it's not so much about surviving it's like surviving real life monsters or vampires, kind of the allegory of what it
I
represented a little by the end,
I
we're
think I don't
survivors
see
kind
I don't think that was where the allegory was. To me,
But
the
that's what I
idea of
think of
building this
Hereditary as well. I think that's a movie about coping about grief. Like there's no demons. He's coping with people died.
the idea that there's a world or a thin layer that music can kind of
Wasn't that a
tear
good
a hole in
concept?
and bring in magic and things of that was fascinating.
Somebody's
I
been
like the fact that
microdosing to come up with that concept because we used to go to Lollapalooza and experience all of those different music coming out in one day.
so I like the fact that he's come up with this idea, and I like the fact that he's woven in. I mean, he sets that as the prologue, so he tells you that that's important to the world, and that's part of what that's the natural part of this world that he's putting you in, right? Which is, and that evil is attracted to this beauty of this musical beauty, and even the fact that the vampires are such beautiful singers, like, because it's really weird. Like, he kills those two, and that night they're out there with instruments singing. So even these vampires must be musically gifted to a certain extent, right? Able to reproduce this
they
stuff.
They share the hive mind. They can do.
They share the hive mind and all that type of thing, right? So
kind of, right?
They're able to sing perfect 3-part harmonies and all that type of stuff. And so I that to me is not the allegory. To me, the allegory is, like you said, I think it's more about loss and about longing. It's about a lot of pain and a lot of strife and things that, there's a lot of things about the African American, experience and things very deeply buried in there. But I also love some of my favorite stuff is when he goes to see his ex-wife and she takes his mojo bag off of him and casts a new spell on him, and she has sex with him because that's part of the spell. That's how she keeps him safe. Right. And it's just kind of amazing. I love, and that there's that really great moment where she says, do you not think that, you walked around with that mojo bag, and that's what, do you, not think that somebody's out there protecting you as you walk around doing what you do? And he looks at her and says, well, then how come it didn't work for our daughter? And she just says, I don't know. And I thought, fuck.
Well, those are those heavy,
powerful stuff
moments.
there. There's some good stuff in there,
And then you got a movie about vampires that you got to sit through to get to those.
I didn't have to sit through it.
Some of that stuff.
I loved it.
Like,
I thought it was great. I loved the idea of these Native Americans that know that what these things are and are chasing them.
They show up. I'm like, they're clearly the heroes. They're out there hunting these things, and we never see them again. They could have shown up at the end and helped them kill the KKK.
Because the rest of the movie is all one night, and they're too fucking smart to be out at night trying to hunt vampires. I know, right?
But it's still kind of like, hey, where'd you go? Movie, you set that up. Bring them back. Those vampires felt more like D&D undead vampire, right? Like, you don't usually see the hive mind creepy vampire. Like, that's gonna fuck you up. You usually see like the suave single, or they romanticize them, but these were more like it reminded me of Get Out. Like, we want to be you, we want to become you again, right? Where we want all of your talents, and we want to possess you and bring you in. But we're cool though, because they're just going to come and kill you anyway. So you might as well join us. It was very creepy. Yeah.
It's more like, to me, it's more like 30 Days of Night.
Bit.
Or there's a lot of established vampire tropes about killing the master and the thralls dying. That's
find them individually.
But they clearly state in the movie that's not going to work, right? So that's not how they end up killing them all. They end up drawing them out into the sunlight to kill them all. But the hive mind in this, they feel more like human, like vampires than the classic Count Dracula type of vampire, right? Much more modern. A good analogy would kind of be like Interview with the Vampires.
Oh, they take the Anne Rice thing and expand it with the music.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
And I like that. And I thought, I wish they had done a little more with it, because it seems like they hinted at it. And I thought, oh, you want the musicians because they allow you to break that veil so you can see the other side that you can never get to because you're a vampire. But they don't really go further than that, because I was like, that's a great concept. Like when he shows up, the two of them show up at the end, and the guy plays one more song for them, I really thought the veil was going to drop when we were going to see they were going to get to see the dead people. Obviously, I'm writing a different movie in my head, but I thought that it had hinted at the music can drop the veil and the vampires can see that because they're the undead, and that's why they wanted that. And I'm like, that's a really interesting concept. I've never really thought of that before. But really what they felt like to me was, well, we've done way too many zombie movies. You can't be zombies and they're vampires. We'll do vampires this time, and the vampires can do the Siege movie.
I feel like the vampires are intrinsic to what the movie that they're telling. Like I don't think that you could say like, well, maybe it could be Frankenstein's monster.
No,
or
you
it could
couldn't
be
do it with zombies. They're no for personality.
You can do it with zombies.
You have to have that, but they do have
it's a
that
vampire movie.
They are zombie undead-esque, where they're out there in the hordes, and you're stuck in the house. You usually don't, like you said, 30 Days of Night's the good example. No, that Dead Snow's.
I mean, there's plenty of vampire horde movies out there. I can't think of a bunch of them, but they're out there.
As plentiful, right? Usually the Siege movie is more of like The Thing or like a group of zombies, but it does happen. But I thought this was like a twist. Like they were like, we're going to take and we're going to mix it up a little bit. You flip the script. And it worked for them. More Oscar nominations than anything in history.
Well, it's seriously super fucking creative. It is seriously super creative. The Preacher Boys song alone, that entire section where he does tear down the veil and suddenly there's what I don't know why is a 6-string guitar, but that's obviously Bootsy fucking Collins from the future who shows up playing the fucking guitar. And you're bringing in the old and the new, and he's mixing generations together. It's fucking beautiful. I thought it was just some of the most brilliant shit I've seen in quite a while.
That was one of the best parts of the movie.
Super creative. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Like somebody's microdosing because I've been there.
And when is Haley Steinfeld, the Marvel hero, going to be able to say such filthy dialogue? I'm telling you, she took the part for that reason alone. Like at one point, somebody asks her if she's with the twins, and she says, "Boy, if you don't get the fuck out of my face!" And I started laughing so hard. It's just like, this fucking movie's so much fun, and it's so creative that I forgive a lot of its transgressions because it's doing so much great shit. Like for instance, the vampire finds a home in a day, makes 2 new thralls, and they're also musicians and they have banjos and all that shit. I don't care. I don't care. I'm with the movie the entire way. Delroy Lindo's such a joy to watch in this thing. It's not even funny. Yeah.
When he showed up,
Dear Diary.
Attention.
Got another one here. Dear Diary. Me and my brother have come back to Chicago and formed our own entourage. So far, we've been riding around in a car together, but soon we're going to open our own juke joint. Anyways, gotta go now. I need to convince my voodoo woman to cook catfish for 100 people and dodge the sexual anger of a forbidden hot white lady. Talk soon.
I realized, and maybe we'll discover this as we go through more of these newer movies, that I have been aged out. There's things that I'm going to appreciate, but I have to tell myself, well, this movie wasn't made for me. This was made for the youngins, and they're loving it, and that's awesome. And it is good that we can have these things that used to be considered juvenile, crass, gross, or unnecessary be in Oscar movies now, because somewhere Wes Craven is smiling and everybody else who used to get their movies chopped up. And it's not a video podcast. Sometimes I wish it was, because you guys miss out on some of our reactions and stuff. But I did enjoy the movie overall. But for me, it's like some of these other movies that are really good movies, and I appreciate them, but I watch them once and I think I'm good because it's such an emotional toll, like Up or A Life is Beautiful.
Well, I can't get to the first 10 minutes of Up where I'm just like, God damn it.
This was good, but
brilliant motherfuckers.
And people love Titanic and they watch that a bunch too. And I'm never going to say that's a bad movie, but it's not necessarily a movie that I'm watching all the time. I think my biggest thing here is, remember, I'm the heretic. I'm the guy that doesn't like Shaun of the Dead. I know, it's crazy. But for me, the tonal mixture of that one is a little too off, and I get a little bit of that of this one here, but I do like this one more than that, you know. But like I said, I had this weird love, don't love relationship with this movie. I can't stop thinking about it. Maybe over time I will watch it again and something else will snap. But like I said, I feel like it's a movie about grief, and that's important, but that's not something that I need to look at all the time.
I don't necessarily think it's about grief. I think I think that's mixed in, but I think it's about longevity, and I think it's about kind of like the magic and longevity of life, and what you're doing with your life, what you're moving forward with, what you came, all this great things that he ties together by, that Preacher Boy scene alone, where he's just showing the span of a life. You end up at the end with that, where he's on stage at the very end there, and you're like, Jesus Christ, it's got a kind of a Green Mile feel to it in that way.
I thought the Green Mile as well, and I felt like if they had leaned more into the realism, it would have gone all the way and surpassed that, even for me personally, past the Green Mile. But it's interesting that you bring that up too, because I had those same kind of thoughts. It is kind of Stephen King-ish in a way, right? We're introducing everybody, and then they're all together. Now they got to fucking fight together to beat the evil. But there's all this intricate backstory, and everybody's pasts are interwoven, and there's all this magic and spiritual. And yeah, there's some Stephen King influence definitely in there. And the younger generation rediscovered him when they remade It. So the kids love Stephen King.
The stomping has strange echoes. It's interesting you mentioned Shaun of the Dead. The stomping in that movie, there's a scene with some stomping, and it is they're beating somebody, and it has strange echoes of that Shaun of the Dead pool cue scene.
This is a dramatic Shaun of the Dead, isn't it?
And I like that moment where she asks Cornbread if she can come into the juke joint.
That's fun. Yeah.
Telling us that she's a vampire, telling the audience, hey, she's a vampire. They don't know it, but we're immediately like, why the fuck, bitch, you just come in.
That's the tension.
And she's like, well, can I?
Yeah.
I like that stuff. That's a lot of fun. I figured you'd have trouble with the whole, and I sure did, with the whole drooling in each other's mouth shit. That was fucking disgusting.
That was a little out there, but she's a vampire. Y'all are fucking gross.
Right? Pale moon my ass, man. No, that's disgusting. And of course, you knew the twins weren't going to last. That's how one of the twins is going to turn into a vampire. It has to happen.
Can't kill the other one.
Of course not. It has to happen. Yeah. These are some of the tropes that you deal with when you have movies like this. You have to deal with these things.
That's the things that hold it back for me. Is like, what would this movie be without vampires?
That doesn't hold to me. That doesn't hold it back. To me, that's just like acknowledging. Like, otherwise, you hand wave it, which is fucking, to me, 10 times worse. I would much rather you acknowledge it and deal with it than just fucking hand wave. Well, we just locked him up. He's in the closet and he'll be fine. Or we put some silver in there and he'll be whatever. And you just kind of hand wave at it, and then suddenly it's just one brother. I liked the whole him having to deal with it and him turning. I enjoyed that. I thought that was really good. I kept wondering what's next. Like, there's 50 minutes to go. I know they're going to fight vampires, but for how long?
Yeah, you're like,
what else does he?
Monsters.
What else does he have planned?
Well, we got to get rid of the true monsters now. The man.
Fuck himself. You, Cornbread. And then now it's a horror movie, right? Now it's Rush Hour, Dusk Till Dawn, and that's when I'm really enjoying it, because it's suddenly turned into this wild riot of a film, and the religious trope and the posturing of the end is a little boring. And the dramatic kind of fire inferno crescendo of music all at the end is kind of silly, but for the most part, it was such a fucking ride. Right? Like, you just don't see a lot of films like this.
It's unique.
You don't see them this creative. You don't see them this imaginative. The dialogue was fucking great. There's just good dialogue. And having to watch Running Time after this, it was fuck me, dude. It made me hate Running Time 10 times more because I'd watched something of such quality. I think you're right. If we had maybe paired Running Time with some other shit ass movie that was lower on that level, then maybe I'd have possibly had some sort of better, take of it. But I'm watching Sinners, which is just amazingly well made. And then I'm watching Runtime, which just seems like some dude's like, I got a camera and some footage of Bruce Campbell. I'm going to make a movie. It's like, okay, buddy.
But it's still pretentious week here on Talking Pondo because we have the person going to make the movie real quick with Bruce Campbell, and we have the other person who can't decide on an aspect ratio. So it's kind of funny how we have that little bit of posturing and similarity.
I honestly couldn't tell you which one's more pretentious. I really couldn't in that regard. I really couldn't. I think. Fuck, I'm not sure. I'm honestly not sure.
Comparison, isn't it?
Smoking on film will always be cool. I don't give a shit how far into the future we get.
Smoking stack.
To me, the gotta kill the Klan stuff was a little. I don't know.
Too long.
It was too long, and I think that was an ending subplot of the third act that you maybe could have cut out. One of my friends was like, "Man, I really enjoyed it when they shot the Klan members." I'm like, I get it. But couldn't we have done it earlier into the movie and maybe dealt with it?
I don't
before.
No, I don't think so. Because to me, it ties into what I think the allegory was. Is that's if you look at this as a story that really happened. Well, there was no vampires. They opened up a juke joint, and then the Klan showed up and shot a bunch of them because that's what was going to happen, right? But there happened to be vampires, so that put a fucking change of situation. So the guy knew that they were coming, so that's why he went back and was like, I'm going to kill these motherfuckers because they were going to come and kill us, which leads to my survivor analogy at the end. It's just subtext that maybe it's intentional fallacy, but it moved me a lot when I thought all that. And that's why I was like, I see why that's there, because my interpretation was because it's a survivor thing. And if they'd killed them before the vampires, I don't know if that matches up. But I wouldn't have minded the Choctaw showing up and helping at the end. But it wasn't their battle to fight, of course. But it did remind me of Inglourious Bastards a little bit, where you're shooting Hitler at the end of the movie, It's a little bit of, using the film to rewrite some stuff, to alternate history, right some wrongs type thing. It's like Sweetback, right? It reminded me of that a little bit, like and now we're back into 70s exploitation era. But the movie is a little too long, though. Boy, am I rambling today.
I think it's probably maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes too long.
A little top heavy, but they're trying to do The Stand type thing where I wouldn't want to lose anybody's backstory and stuff, right? So if you had to chop, maybe clean that ending up a little bit, make it a little snappier, a little pep. Yeah, there is a little pacing thing. You're right about the pacing of it.
I think it's paced okay. I just think that there's a little fat. There's a little fat on it. You could make it a little leaner.
A little Lord of the Rings,
especially towards the end. I don't know that you needed to do the whole Klan coming back thing. I think you maybe could have handled that a little bit differently and sped the ending up. Again, it wasn't as egregious as Farewell to the King, but there was a kind of here's a good point to end the movie. Oh wait, the Klan, here we go again, right? Type of thing.
And then where it kind of wound the third act. It's always right because he gets to see his wife momentarily. I'm like, oh, Richard Dreyfuss,
yeah,
right on the corner.
There's a whole thing with that
but
too.
Look out,
right?
Because Lance Henriksen and Bill Paxton are hiding around the corner too. Seriously, doesn't this kind of feel like it could be the Near Dark universe a little bit? Because they were the type of vampires a little bit. They were they were talking about having been around, and they burnt Chicago down even. And
doesn't no.
Well, that was my I mean, obviously they're a little bit more pack creatures here with the.
It feels more. It feels more like it comes from the world of Crossroads or The Color Purple, and that there's some sort of mix over with From Dusk Till Dawn, right? Where it's this sort of, poor rural South type thing,
And did you ever see a movie called Death by Temptation?
Yes.
Because that feels like that was in there too a little bit. A
I think
late
it's got a little
80s
bit of Oh Brother Where Art Thou in
trauma
there
blast.
too.
Oh, it's Oh Brother Where Art Thou horror version. You could watch these two in a row. Now that's a grindhouse double feature right there. And I want to watch them on beat up prints too, that way, with fake trailers. But like I was saying, or was I saying? I don't know. Movies are a series of moments that you take away, right? Didn't Scorsese say something like that? That's what you remember mostly about movies. And I feel like a lot of the older movies, maybe I'm just an old motherfucker, who knows at this point, but I feel like a lot of the older movies, they're full of moments because the craft, they were like made to last. And a lot of the newer movies, not saying Sinners is one of them, because I think Sinners in 5-10 years is probably going to grow in popularity. I think it's going to become even more of a classic than it already is. But some of the other more recent movies feels like after 5 or 10 years, maybe you develop some potholes in them, kind of like the whole Oscar thing I was saying in the beginning. So it seems like in the modern movie, you get maybe 15 minutes of great minutes of a movie of greatness, and then you have to sit through the rest of it a lot of the time. But those older movies, like Last Detail or something like that, where it's like the whole fucking movie's brilliant. But maybe there are movies that are recent that the whole goddamn movie's brilliant. I'm sure we watched some of them, and I'm not thinking of it. So who knows? Maybe
I
I'm
know
just
there are.
completely
I've
full
seen
of
them. We
shit
just haven't
today.
we just haven't had them on this podcast, but they're out there. I think this is a perfect example of what you're talking about. This movie has it moves, it begins and it continues and it never stops and it drags the viewer along with you and at no time really do you stop to think, well, I should check my watch, or how long is this kind of fucking movie? Only at the very, very end where you kind of expect the ending and it doesn't happen and it kind of revs back up for the clan thing. Do you go, oh, okay. But, to me, this is, top notch filmmaking. I was never really impressed with Creed, or Black Panther was okay, but there were better Marvel movies to me. And so I hadn't seen, the San Francisco, the one he did, I think that's him, Klansman in San Francisco. I hadn't seen that one, so I wasn't super familiar with any of his more recent work. But this was right up there with, I think, probably easily needs to be considered as one of the best films of 2025, and it's going to be probably considered one of the better films of the 21st century for a while.
I had seen Black Panther, and I never understood why everybody was so crazy about it. I thought it was just okay. And this one,
It's
I
fine.
feel like, because directors like to do a lot of the same themes, and I thought, for me, it made me understand that movie more. I was like, I see what you were trying to go for in that one, and I feel like you got more of it across in this one, to where it really moved me at the end of it. So
he's definitely celebrating blackness, right? Like I feel like this movie definitely does that. Like, as much as it is about, two guys who are,
and it's also about just let people live.
criminals. Yeah. But as much as it's about two people who are criminals, it's got a lot, it celebrates a lot of the Black South and the history and the heritage of that
Well, you said
region, and
it's all
talks a
symbolism.
lot about it, and has a lot of that history embedded in it, which, that's cool. I thought it was really, really great. I really, really enjoyed this movie. I watched it a lot, half of it with my mouth kind of just hanging wide open, because it was like, oh, fuck, really? This is cool. Okay. And there are points where it does come off a little corny, but it also very much finds itself and is very cool in spots where you're just like, oh, that's fucking, that's dope.
I didn't like it the first time I watched it, the first 45 minutes, and then the next day I started it over, and it felt like a different movie.
Well, I'm kind of excited to rewatch it a second and third time, because I'm wondering if it's going to be one of those type of movies where the if you watch it 2 years from now, you get a different thing from it, and 3 years from now you're getting a different thing from it, because it sure feels like it's layered and it's got enough thematically and with layering going on that you're going to probably pull different things from it as you watch it.
And as time passes and context falls away from it, I think it'll grow even more, because people would look at it now as a reflection of the times we're in directly.
Yeah.
But in the future, it's gonna. That's why I compare it to Barbie a lot in that respect, where it's like it's going to keep growing in a different way as the context from the time it was made in seeps away. And at the same time, they were both designed to appeal to everybody because it's a.
I could see Sinners probably doing that a lot more than Barbie. I think time's going to tell on Barbie. I'm not convinced on that one, but I think you're right with Sinners. I think Sinners, especially the more you get away from the political implications of the film and the social implications of the film, and it's
people will be able to
50 to 60 to 70 years, and it's just a movie about, you know, this cool juke joint where all this crazy music's going on and these fucking vampires show up. It won't even
seem gross anymore.
It'll be dope. It'll be really cool.
But I can understand. It'll be really cool. Much like Barbie, I can understand why people would hate it, and I understand why people would love it.
Same,
because it depends on what you like in the movie and what it does for you. You know,
this is probably going to test your tolerance level. I think in certain respects, like the fact that it's a musical is probably going to push some people away. The fact, you know, there's just things in it.
Thriller for a moment there.
Yeah, there's things in it I think that may kind of push people away. It's that's not really my taste. That's not really my kind of film. But yeah, I think it's fucking fantastic.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm right in the middle. Our discussion has made me realize that I do appreciate it more, so my rating has gone up. I'm giving it 3.5.
Yeah, I'm giving it 4.
I was going considerably lower, but the more I thought about it, and the strong parts were so strong that they overweigh some of the issues that I had with it more. But like I said, for me, my read off of it, much like Up or George Romero's movie Martin, hey, that's about vampires as well, now that I think about it. I feel like the movie's just about grief. And so it's heavy watch for me. So it's not something I'm going to be putting on all the time unless I need like a good cry or something, because it's a good movie, but it's like Titanic. You know, I appreciate it, but I'm not personally revisiting it, but I would never tear it down. I'm so conflicted.
I think that there's some melancholy in it for sure, but I think it's a movie about life, and I think it's a movie about.
It reminded me of that movie too, Life, the Eddie Murphy.
It's the you know, the fragility, the experience, the moments, the things that, you know.
Well, that's the part
these
that
guys
got me.
Come from Chicago. They rip off a bunch of mobsters. They come to Chicago. They start over. They create this thing all night, and suddenly this shit happens, and it's wild.
And shit went down. But remember, before the shit went down, thing was actually going good. And they're flashing back to the good times, you know, when we were just thieves running around. Haha, you know, I'm being cynical, but you know, and that was what made me go, oh, the movie's not about vampires. The movie was about life. The movie was about how things went good before things went to shit for us, you know, and you keep going no matter what it throws at you. Like the vampires are just the things, the obstacles we have to deal with in life, and maybe they were the friends we made along the way. Does that fit in? But yeah, watch it, people. Watch it.
I thought it was I just think it's a pretty cool vampire movie. Yeah, I definitely recommend the watch on it. I'm not surprised to see this thing win some Oscars.
We'll see what it does.
I'm not surprised at all to see it. I will not be surprised at all to see it do that. I think it's going to sweep. I think it's definitely going to sweep the musical category for sure.
Yeah,
I think it's going to sweep this. I think it's going to sweep sound and sound design categories for sure.
How much of the credits did you read? I know there's a lot of in credits, but I read a lot of the musicians. Lars Ulrich is one of the musicians.
Yeah, I know.
And we know Jerry Cantrell did a song with the score composer.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to listen to that after the movie, and I'm like, oh, it's that. Like they took like an instrumental version of it and put it in the movie, right? It was like the creepy, they're outside the juke joint music.
Right.
But it's so varied. Right. Yeah, we have it at work on a double vinyl record, you know, the soundtrack. But yeah.
It's an I mean, I get it. I get it. And the Oscar the nominations are insane. It's best casting, best achievement in cinematography, best achievement in makeup and hairstyling, best achievement in music written for a motion picture, best achievement in music written for a motion picture. Again, so I think he's got best song and best composer. Okay, best sound, best achievement in visual effects, best motion picture, best achievement in directing, best performance by an actor in a leading role, which is Michael B. Jordan, supporting role Delroy Lindo, Supporting role for actress Wunmi Mosaku. She was awesome. Original screenplay Ryan Coogler. Best achievement in production design Hannah Beachler. Costume design Ruth Carter. Film editing Michael P. Shaver. This thing's walking away with at least 4 or 5 Oscars easily.
And I just never thought I'd see a Best Oscar nominee that clearly has Evil Dead influence in it, but I should be happy.
Well, I mean,
about
we should be fucking excited about that shit, right? I mean, these are the films that we all thought were awesome that, you know, people pushed to the side, and now it's nice to see our things.
It's not like Raimi's hurting, but you know,
taking well, it's just nice to see the things that we love taking fucking center stage for once.
Well, the things that were inspired by the things we love. I want my actual creators to be recognized. They are. You know what's interesting about this is,
I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, George Romero, Sam Raimi, fucking Wes Craven, those guys all got recognized even more.
They only ever got horror awards. They never got Oscars.
They mostly only ever made horror. Fucking well, that's not true. Sam Raimi made the Spider-Man films and won a bunch of awards.
That's true. But what I'm getting to is Sinners breaks the mold once again. It's Oscar nominated and Fangoria Chainsaw Award nominated. Weird, huh?
There you go.
Isn't it strange how things have changed? So,
well, it's just I just think it's great. I love the fact that you know, first off,
Jack Valenti.
it wasn't. I think it's probably 6 or 7 years ago. 8 years ago that Get Out wins best screenplay for a horror, which is fucking that shit's not happened since you know. I mean, the Oscars that were handed out to Get Out, they hadn't even done that since fucking The Exorcist, right? And now, so here we are with another horror movie it's fucking horror, and it's got how many goddamn Academy Award nominations? It's great. Like, finally, some recognition for the shit that we love and grew up loving and enjoy, right? And of course, it's never going to be Friday the 13th because that shit was 30 years ago. But it's great that the stuff that we're based on is fucking getting recognized.
I'm saying, you know, like people like Romero and stuff, Dawn of the Dead, if that came out now, that would be an Oscar-nominated movie. But back then, it had to crawl so this stuff could walk. So if it wins, I hope they, you know, say, you know, thank you to the people that inspired me, you know. That's all. But do you think that it does have a similarity to Get Out in so much as the monster wants to become you and assimilate you and take over your personality and take your talents and stuff? I thought that was kind of like there's a theme of the body snatcher type. I'm gonna assimilate you type thing. I'm like, oh, that's kind of creepy how similar in those vibes.
I mean, vampires are much more, at least as far as I understand, in representation in like literature and things like that. They're usually sexuality and power dynamics and things like that, right? It's a lot of that forbidden desire, giving, you know, the society keeping you back from your sexual or your physical desires, or your things of that nature, right? So, and of course the allure of immortality and, being immortal and you can't die and you can live outside of society and all that type of shit. So, I mean, I think Sinners smartly avoids a lot of that and just says, look, they're vampires. Here's the cool thing about them is that they're fucking really into music. Not only can they play it, they're drawn to it like a moth to flame. You know what I mean? It's like he says to Preacher Boy, oh, that was your voice I heard in there. You know, you have to join us. I need your song. I need you.
Yeah.
I need your voice.
Right? I want that ability to be a photographer like you.
Yeah.
And you go, this isn't a race thing. He wants to take my essence. Yeah.
Yeah. He wants what's you. Yeah, very much so. But yeah, 4 stars. Okay. Well, what do you got for me next week?
Next week, we're entering in some guests, but the next time we do a solo episode, hey guys, there might be some more vampires on some of those guests, so stay tuned. But the next episode for us, okay, so no more running times. Not saying there isn't going to be movies that are old, but I'm going to try to focus on our solo episodes being movies primarily from the last 5 years that I know that I haven't seen at least, and maybe you haven't seen.
Right.
Not always, but so what's next?
Not always, but for the most part.
Next time you're watching more Oscar winner, Tucson-based screenwriter one for this one. I haven't seen it. American Fiction.
Oh, okay.
Watching that one next time. I thought, let's go to that one. I've seen that. You've seen it already? Okay, I've never seen it.
I think so. Yeah, that's the one with Jeffrey. What's his name?
I believe so. Yeah.
Right. Jeffrey Wright. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw it a few years ago. Okay, cool. Well, that sounds great. You were going to watch Weapons.
We're catching up on that. Cord Jefferson. I live in Tucson, and he's Tucson, and he won Best Screenplay. So, hey, guys, pay attention out there. Tucson's got some filmmakers here. So what are you giving me for the next solo episode whenever that happens? And it won't be the 200th movie. That'll be the one after, but...
I said it. It was Weapons.
Weapons? Oh, I didn't even hear you. Oh, so we're just going right to Weapons. Okay.
Yep.
I have a feeling I'm probably going to like Sinners more, but I really don't know. We'll find out. Watch I go, I loved this fucking movie. Even the polarizing ending. You know, people talked about the ending of Sinners being what fucked it up for them too. So people say the ending of Weapons fucks it up. I don't know. All I know is about some kids in a house or something, right? People under the stairs, that type of thing.
It's supposed to be about, all I know is it's supposed to be about disappearing kids.
Yeah, milk carton.
Yep. And it's supposed to be Amy Madigan's supposed to be one of her best performances that she's given in her career. And I like Amy Madigan.
I should have given you Field of Dreams.
Maybe later.
Maybe that's a dynamic right there.
Eventually, if we do Streets of Fire, she's in that too.
Oh, so yeah. Coming up hopefully this season. You never know.
All right. So Weapons and what is it? Weapons
and American Fiction. We're doing new shit because we're trying to be trendy and get those numbers up. No, we're filling in some gaps. We're using the podcast to help us watch some movies we haven't gotten around to finally. So.
Yeah, that was kind of the point.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of many.
Give each other movies we had to see and talk about them. So it's nice to see we're sticking to it, I guess.
Well, you know, it's also going back to film school as well and learning each other's aesthetics.
Yeah.
See, if I hadn't watched Vision Quest, right? I mean, shit. I'm glad I watched that.
I love that movie. We talked about that. I told you I started reading that book, and it's like we talked about, and we'll have to get into that at some point about how in the 80s they would buy a book property and then take the elements of the book, but then change it to make it more Hollywood storytelling or cinematic. You know what I mean? And so you get, like in Vision Quest, you get Carla showing up, right? Mm-hmm. But in the book, they're already together. Now it's true that she showed up and bought a shitty car and the car busted out and he punched the dude out and that's how that happened. But it's told completely differently. Anyway. So yeah, cool. All right. So Weapons and American Fiction.
Next time.
All right. You want to get out of here on a quote?
Sure.
Cool.
So this is going to be crude, but it needs to happen because it's a joke. How dog's gonna eat that pussy? Wait a minute, that wasn't this movie, but it could have been. See, Party Animal could have paired perfectly with Sinners.
They gave me the willies. Well, Crackers at Night will do that to you.
Hound dog. Hound dog. Don't miss an episode. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, and keep listening to the show on the app of your choice. Do it now.